Hey guys, welcome back to Mantalk.Ke. It's another episode. Thank you for everything on the last episode of this season. It was a good start to the season. I'm glad to have you guys back. We're finding our feet again. And yeah, just being in the chair, it just feels right. So Oscar, I feel good. I won't lie to you, I feel good. I feel healthy. I feel happy. How are you? How's your week been for you?
I feel way too sexy, if you know what I mean. I feel way too sexy.
Yeah.
I feel fantastic. I feel fantastic. I think this has been the best week for hip hop. Hands down. Best 14 days for hip hop. The Donda album just dropped. The CLB, you know. I don't need to tell you about the crazy man from Toronto. The current top scorer in the league.
It's been special. I can't lie, it's been special. It's what we needed to end this quarter. It was a good start to the quarter. It's a very good start to the quarter. Let's end on a high.
Let me tell you.
Yeah.
I would be lying if I didn't tell the audience that probably one of my earpieces right now is actually playing the Drake album. Probably. Right now, as we're doing this episode. It's too much. It's too
It caused
much.
a divide as well. It caused a divide between us two this whole week because you were very excited about Donda. It came out. You're like, yeah, this is amazing. Personally, for me, I wasn't a fan. My opinion was, it wasn't made for people. It was made for him. It seemed like quite a narcissistic album, like just about him. There was no vibes like he used to give.
Yeah.
You know, there's no touch the sky coming to. You know, there was none of that. It was just, it's about me. It's about me. You know. And I feel like he's just a guy going through a lot of trauma to do with his mum's death still, and he's put that on us. And it's like, you know, audience versus therapy. That was my thing. I just feel like it was about him.
Bro, I
my
have to disagree with you. When it comes to Kanye West, you're absolutely off the grid. And I must blow off that opinion like a hurricane. Because when it comes to rap, Eli, Kanye West is daddy and a lot of people are his juniors. You hear what I'm saying? Okay?
I'm pretty sure Champagne Papi made a song called Papi's Home. So if we're talking about father figures at this point,
No, I agree that Champagne Papi is definitely like he's definitely the top hitter in hip hop right now. But Kanye West also deserves his respect. I'm not going to sit here and say, like I didn't really feel the Donda album because I ate that album up. When I had Television, we made it. I was like, no. Then when
you've never convinced me.
Then the Fivio foreign verse. Nah, Eli, come on. Then, but still, the album of the week this week has to go to this. I don't know. I don't know.
Man.
I don't know.
No, it was sensational.
I don't know.
It was just so good. It was good.
I don't understand.
And you know, on the live,
we said,
if anyone doesn't follow us on the live, then you need to be there on Thursdays at 9 p.m. Kenyan time. Because the night before the album dropped, me and Oscar had a conversation. We said, what do you want from this body of work, from this project?
Yeah.
And we said, we want one of them that has a time and a date, because we know whenever there's a time and a date as a title,
that's the time of death. That's
go time.
That's when the officer's like, officer, we have a violation at Brattle Path. Time of death is probably touch the pulse. It's probably 7 a.m. Shock line. Like anytime you hear Drake give you a date and a time, 4 p.m. in Calabasas, just look for a body buried. He'll give you the time of death. And there's probably a rapper buried somewhere nearby in that address.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Just loads of careers.
It's
a career graveyard.
It
really is.
I don't understand.
Yeah. So you wanted that.
I don't understand how Drake does what he does. I wish I could sit here and say, I get it. Yeah. And to deliver it as consistently as delivering it. That's why him and LeBron are friends. That's why when we sit here...
because they can relate.
Yeah, when we sit here shooting this podcast, like for us, it's like, we have to get our jump shot as clean as Drake's. We need to get our performance as clean as Drake's and LeBron James. This is why we do what we do as consistently as we do it. We look at these people and we're like, if you want to win, you have to do it this way. Like the clean, consistent, you know what to expect. It drops and you still love it. That's what, that's what.
Do you know what I like as well?
Yeah.
Do you know what I like about Champagne Papi? It's, at one point, it wasn't cool to be sensitive. It wasn't cool to to put a phone call at the beginning of a song from somebody that left you, But he made it cool, and it took a while for some people to even realize this is
the future.
And even on it, he says this is masculinity. He talks about masculinity.
Yeah.
And so what like we were saying on the live, if you're not there on Thursdays, you're missing out. Is that we wanted that track, the time and date. We wanted one of those ones where he's just flexing about what he's been doing. We wanted one of those. We got one of those. We wanted one where it's like quite deep.
Yeah.
And he's talking about his what he's been doing and how he's feeling. We got some of that. And it was just beautiful. We got some singing on it.
It was fantastic, fantastic.
So that's the highlight of your week.
Yeah, that's
the highlight of your week.
There's that, and then this really ties into the topic today. Drake's album also touched a bit on masculinity, and I know the Way Too Sexy song was sometimes as guys we need to feel. We need to feel good about ourselves, fam. I feel like we don't. I don't feel like we get that often enough. Will you feel good about you, my guy? Feel good about what you dress, how you look, how you feel, the life you're living. I had a conversation this week just touching on masculinity that was really strong. A lot of times I feel like people consider masculinity being this machismo, this macho attitude, me, women won't tell me anything, I'm my own boss and stuff. You're living life recklessly and you're loud and you're just you just don't have a plan to how you're living your life. You're just out here being brash, loud, dismissive, and just downright insensitive. So there's this guy I met. This is 2015 when I was doing my internship years ago. I was hosted by a family of a very fantastic family, a Pakistani family, down in Feltham. Shout out to Zareen and her family, fantastic family, amazing place. So Zareen basically taught me a lot about them, contributes a lot, even today, to the guy you see here today. A lot of phone calls, a lot of big ups since we started Mantalk. So we talk as frequently as we can. And there's one of her sons, who's a foster child, is the most quiet guy. Eli, this is the most quiet guy one of the most quiet people I've ever met. In 3 months, the only words he said to me were, hi, bye. How are you? You're good? Yeah. Are you enjoying yourself in London? Yeah. You okay? And he was very, no, he was very, he doesn't like conflict. He just keeps to himself, lives his own life. What I didn't know is that he's an Afghan citizen. He's a citizen of Afghanistan. And his family is from Afghanistan. And when he came to the UK and Zareen took him in, he had a lot of the trauma that comes with coming from certain communities in Afghanistan. For people who don't know, the insurgents in Afghanistan practice a lot of racial discrimination and tribal discrimination. So he suffered a loss to a very close family member at the hands of these insurgents. So he's been literally traumatized by that entire experience since he was a child. So obviously time goes on. And he becomes an engineer, brilliant guy. And this quiet, good-natured person has a wife in Afghanistan. He married, of course, he goes back home, marries a fantastic person, uplifts his whole family, makes sure that his brother is even in a place in the UK, studying and living his life, visits him in Paris. So now he's literally, he's unlocked, that generational kind of poverty in his home. He's kind of the one that's lifted them out of it because he's taken his brothers, his families out of that situation and put them in homes throughout Europe. This guy is our age, by the way, Eli. He's not an old guy. He's our age. So his wife is in Afghanistan, and everyone knows what happened quite recently when obviously the Taliban overran the whole country and took over the state, and his wife is there. Now,
that's what I was
saying. Now, this guy is not the most masculine guy on earth. He's not the loud brash. He's just the quiet, chill, cool. He does non-confrontational. Doesn't want much. This guy somehow flew into Pakistan. Okay? Flew into Pakistan. Went to Afghanistan by road. Okay? Got to Kabul somehow. Please remember he's part of that community that's please keep that at the back of your head. That he comes from a community that has suffered a lot of tribal discrimination and he suffered a significant family loss because of it since he was a child. Gets
Yeah,
into
this
Kabul.
is-
Yeah, gets into Kabul somehow. When it's a war zone, takes his wife, and he has a sister. Yeah, he has a sister who has a 4-year-old daughter. Apparently, this fantastic young girl, whenever she's hungry, she comes. First thing she asks when she gets to the home is there food? No? Okay, no. I don't want to be here anymore. Like, she throws a complete fit.
I can relate.
Yeah. This absolutely adorable 4-year-old girl takes his sister's daughter, that young girl, because of, she's a daughter and these are the Taliban. Like, they're not supposed to, you know how they get, especially when it comes to women's rights. And somehow flies them back in the middle of the war zone. You've been seeing the airlifts. He managed to get his wife and daughter now, out of the hands of the Taliban and outside of the situation, the whole Afghanistan situation, on his own. Like, on his own. This guy has no family connections, no nothing. Found a way to use his British citizenship to get both his wife and his little niece out of Afghanistan in the middle of a war. And has flown back to London currently and is sitting in quarantine. He's the most quiet guy you will ever meet. The most opposite.
What?
Yeah, the most opposite. Tell me, if that's not the peak, if you're asking about like masculinity, peak, like the peak.
This guy
The
is
peak.
literally Liam Neeson.
Yeah,
He said they're taken.
yeah, taken.
And he's got a particular set of
Skills, you know?
And, and he's gonna go get them
And bounce.
what a
Like,
gangster.
let me tell you.
What a
If you're watching this, because I know you'll watch this, because I know Zareen will share this with you, I want you to know that I will never stop. I will never stop saying this story. It's the most epic story of masculinity I have ever had. Like, ever. In the middle of a war zone. You know, in the middle of a war. He's not loud, he's not brash. Chill. And guess what? He's back in London now and he's joining work next week. and no one will ever know. No one will ever know. Nobody will ever know. Like,
he goes back to the office. He's like, "You've got quite the tan.
yeah.
You look
amazing. You look amazing. You look amazing.
Yeah, I just had to go pick up my family. Oh, really? Were they on holiday? Well, I didn't say that. It's
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Well,
And
something
they
like
will-
that. They were abroad.
Imagine
Tropical.
the amount of crap this guy probably faces on a day-to-day basis from other guys or people who just have the wrong idea of what a man really means. And like, he's done that. So on that very heavy note, we are introducing the topic of masculinity.
Masculinity, bro.
Yeah.
Those quiet guys, and I always say, even when it comes to like violence, if there's a fight, I'm never scared of the loud one.
Yeah.
I'm never scared of the loud one. The big, don't tell me what you're gonna do. The other guys, they'll just do it.
Yeah.
The ones that just stand there quietly.
Yeah.
And they stand there quietly.
They snap before the chat.
And then they get the and then they got the
It gets
What's that
crazy.
Soldier Boy?
It gets crazy. Let me tell you,
Yeah.
it gets crazy. Like, for me, when I had that, this guy, I swear, 3 months, didn't say more than 3 words to me.
No, I can't express the level of respect because, and do you know what, this goes to, let's go into it now, because this is one of the points about masculinity that I was listening to this week.
Yeah.
So yeah, in my week in terms of masculinity, I listened to an amazing podcast. It was one of the Joe Rogan podcasts, and he had Jason something. You might have seen the video. You know that guy where he's you've seen like this big black guy with a beard. It went viral, and he's doing taekwondo classes or judo classes or mixed martial arts. And then this kid, and he's always like a small black kid, and he's like, you can punch through it, and the kid's like, no, I can't punch through it. I don't know if you've seen this.
Yeah, I have.
It went really
Yeah.
viral. Yes, yeah.
Then he talks
So
to
was
the boy about like.
yeah, and
being
he
calm.
talks to them. Yeah.
I know
Yeah,
that.
so he came on the Joe Rogan podcast and he talked about masculinity. And this goes to the point of this amazing man that you just mentioned. He says that with masculinity, sometimes big guys and strong guys, because of society, we tend to mask and apologize for the lion inside. Like, we tend to sometimes suppress our masculinity at the risk of looking like we're being too much of an oppressor, right? But he says having that lion inside you is not a bad thing. he said the essence of masculinity is having the line and being able to control it.
Yeah.
And he gave an amazing example of when he does amazing stuff in the community. I can talk for hours on him, but essentially he was talking an example of one kid that used to get bullied, right? And he used to go to I really recommend this.
I think I saw that one. I think I saw go.
Yeah, so he used to get bullied at school, but he was one of his students, so he was learning mixed martial arts, so very capable when it came to physical. And then his mum was basically saying to the kid, no, don't, if someone bullies you, don't like fight back, don't do anything. And he came and he said now to this gentleman, he was like, coach, this has been happening to me at school. My mum says I shouldn't do anything. What do you think? Because this guy's like a father figure to all these kids. And he says, no, you don't just take abuse. You don't just take it and say, no, I have to, because I have the skill. Even though I have the skills, I can't do anything. He says, you go and use your skills, defend yourself, but just remember to be in control of the situation. So then he goes back, and then the bully comes up to him, and he like starts to push him about. And then this kid just goes, okay, I'm going to do it, use his skills, flips him, and then like throws him on the floor. But just before he throws him on the floor, he picks him up and he holds him there and pulls him back up. So this could have been impaled, but he held him back up and pulled him. Then he went back next day, goes back to coach. He's so excited. He's like, yeah, I went back and, I managed to, sort myself out, and I showed the bully. And he goes, I'm so proud of you for standing up for yourself. He goes, no, but then the kid says, the proudest thing about it is just when he was about to hit the floor, I managed to pull him up. And so the significance of that was he had the line inside him to use it appropriately, but it didn't diminish from his compassion. So he had it under control. So he could use the aggression, tame it, and then still have the compassion to not be lost and go red in that moment and say, no, like I still have compassion, but I need to show you that I have that man inside me. This is a kid doing that.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with that guy. Like he has that beast inside him, but he's a quiet guy. But when it's needed, he switches it on.
Let me tell you.
And he says, I'm a gangster.
He's a soldier.
And he says,
he is a soldier. And guess what? I forgot to tell you. Guess what he told Zareen? Because how Zareen found out this amazing person in London, who is by far one of the closest people in my life. How Zareen found out is that she texted him like, "Hey, my son, how are you? Are you well?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm fine." It's like, first he's ambiguous. Then she says, "Oh, I also noticed that you're not home. Could you have gone? Like, it's as if you've gone back to Afghanistan." Then this guy shouts, "Oh, you're a genius! How did you know this?" Like she's like, so she was just saying it to him like as a joke, but she's like, "Yeah, actually, I am. I'm about to join the mission." So she's like, what are you doing there? Like, what are you doing there? He's like, don't worry, I'm a soldier. That's what he says, I'm a soldier. He's not like a soldier like that, but he definitely like has a particular set of skills. And big shout out to our boy.
That story is...
I've never ever had a story like that. Most people like, if you're loud, but okay, for me, I'm loud. I'm loud personally. Like I'm very loud. Like I'm very, but there's you know what I mean. I don't need to say it. Like there are people who there are people who mean what they say. There are people who mean what they say when they say what they say. There are some who like there are guys who are like who mean what they say when they say what they say. So it's not a stereotype. Like not every guy who's quiet is like actually like super confident and super masculine and is just like sheathing the sword. And not every guy who's loud is very like, is actually docile. Some people actually mean what they say when they say what they say.
It could be a compensation. Yeah. Some compensate and some that's just their personality. It depends how true you are to yourself.
Exactly.
So let's dive into masculinity.
Let's go.
So when we wanted to do this topic, like I mentioned, we love podcasts here, we love audiobooks, we love learning. So one of the things that one of the pieces of content I listen to is the Man Enough podcast, right? By Justin Baldoni.
Yeah.
Fantastic podcast, right? He's done an amazing TED talk, and I love the way they address masculinity. So in his podcast, whenever they have a guest on, they ask the guest a few questions.
Yeah.
And when I was listening to it, and it's the same, and the podcast structure is amazing, but every episode is the same question. So I thought for us, what we could do is we could ask ourselves those questions and then make our own Man Enough podcast like that. Yeah. Because I think their structure is amazing and it's such piercing questions.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of great conversation will come out of it, and hopefully we'll be able to help some
And
of the
maybe
guys
you
who
never know.
ask
You
us.
never
So,
know. Maybe one day we might have Justin Baldoni on Mantalk.
Why not?
Why not?
Why not?
Yeah.
We're all on the same globe. It's the same globe. So let's jump into it. So I'll go first. I'll ask you first. And
All
then
four
we'll
or
flip the question back to.
Or just we go.
I'll ask you one first.
Okay.
We'll go one for one. We'll go
Okay,
one
let's
for
go.
one. So the question they always ask guests, Oscar, you're my guest. Welcome to Mantalk.Ke. Thank you for
thank you very
taking the
much.
time.
I've had a lot of good things
so
about
you're thank you. So you're a man of the world, and you've seen some things. But in all seriousness, so the question is that they ask is okay. Let's get into that space. Oscar, when is the last time that you didn't feel man enough? When's the last time you did not feel man enough? Take your time, though. It's a deep one.
Wow. I didn't expect it. Now that the question has been leveled against me, my lord.
Yeah. Let's get vulnerable for a bit.
Last time, I think it happens more often than people think. Like when you feel a bit emasculated by something, like something takes away your, like I'd say, not many things in life take away your power, but some things threaten it. When I last felt man enough, I think
didn't feel man enough.
Yeah, when I didn't feel man enough. That's a tough one. Wow, that's a tough one. Okay. Okay, I think for me, last time I didn't feel like truly like man enough is there was this time in my life about 1 year ago, 2 years ago. I wasn't living in the best of circumstances compared to my peers. Like when I was comparing myself to everyone else. That thing that we do as guys where we're like, yo, at this stage of my life, I should be here, I should be doing this, I should be doing that. And like I'm looking at myself and I'm like, my career goals were this, that, I was supposed to be at this level at this stage. And I had to confront that feeling of being insufficient, like of being not enough.
Feeling.
That feeling of insufficiency. That feeling of like, like at this stage, I should have done more with my career. I should have been at this certain stage. But then when I felt that way, it's a very dark place to be because it encourages a lot of self-doubt. And you can imagine when you're doing something like Mantalk on a weekly basis, and there's one thing in life that that's not really getting done. It's like, it's very quick to point a finger and say, it's probably because of this other thing. You know what I mean? It's probably because I'm giving too much time to this other thing. And I sat down and I was like, nah, that's not the case, bro. Like, it really is. Some things, sometimes we have to dominate the seasons in our lives. If you are in a certain season, and that season to you, like as everyone else is thriving, let's say in their career, in their legal career, and for me, I'm very fortunate. Like I work where I work, and I have the skills and the mentorship that I need to get through moments like this, where if I feel insufficient, I know like I can go to mentors and they can, give me the support that I require. But like, you have to learn as a person to dominate the season that you occupy in your life. Some people will sprint through certain goals and objectives that are set, especially in the career, like in the legal career, let's say. In your legal career, people will sprint through certain objectives. Others will walk. Others, will crawl. So for you, you have to sit down and ask yourself, this season in my life, what are the things that I'm doing that are giving me the growth that I need? Am I growing in a way that I can look at myself and value myself outside of this failure, outside of this confusion as to where I am right now when it comes to this specific issue? So I kind of gave myself that talk, like, you're dominating this season of your life in the way that you're supposed to. It might not be in the way that you expected, but you're definitely dominating this season of your life. There's no way you can cast that in doubt. And you shouldn't allow that negative feeling of failure to permeate into other things in your life. So just like shut that off. So that was when I didn't feel man enough. Like when I felt like a feeling of insufficiency, a feeling of just total loss. Like I'm just like at a loss. I just didn't know what to do. It's like I'm a deer in the headlights. Okay, what do I do next? So let's hope that it goes soon, because I can't say what it is on camera, but I just hope that it goes soon, because I'm just bloody tired of it. Like, so yeah.
Yeah. Dude, that's That's amazing. That's amazing that you actually could like say that. It's crazy that, you know, the first instinct for a guy is that, because you know when girls, you know, it's crazy when a girl feels like maybe in their life they're not where they want to be, they don't attribute that to being more of a woman.
Yeah.
But as a guy, your success literally is directly linked a lot of the time to how you feel as a man.
Yeah. It's true.
And I think, yeah, it's crazy. And I think a perfect, it's going to be like, I'm going to respond and you're going to realize just how parallel this is. Because my one, I've written it down here. It's literally exactly the same as you. So that when you were saying that, I was like, I can't believe the same thing that I was attributing to my manlyhood is the same thing you've just said, which is where am I? What am I doing? That's what I'm like. When you were explaining yours, I was like, are you serious? It's the same thing. So my one, exactly the same. It was that moment of what am I doing with my life? And I think the reason I'm glad we're saying this is because maybe a lot of people watch Man Talk, follow us, and they assume, you know, even though we're doing what we're doing, we're good. Like, we're like, yeah, I'm perfect. I'm right where I need to be. It's so much easier said than done. Like, we could even sit here and be like, guys, you know, we should do this. But we're works in progress at the moment as well. Like real live at the moment. We're young guys going through these stages, but at the same time, trying to do like something that is of service and we can bring some sort of value, even though we're trying to add value to our own lives. So my moment where I didn't feel man enough was that it was a few months ago as well, and I sat down and then I assessed, because at a certain point in my life I had several avenues I can go down, and you know when you've been going down this avenue for a while, and then you're like, you've got to a certain stage and you're like, you look at the other ones and you think that one could have been much further progressed if I didn't take this path. And I remember the phone call we had about this, and literally, I've not been as maybe open to you, but I had the same moment. Even like coming back to the UK, it's a lot. Like coming back for a bit and then being like, what am I doing? I've extended my stay quite a bit because of several things. Have I made the right choice doing this? Because I've made a couple very like key choices, and it's like, what am I actually doing the right thing? And then with me as well, you obviously compare. We always are going to say on Man Talk that comparison is a thief of joy. You shouldn't do it, but at the same time, we're human beings, and we measure up all the time. And so I'll sit down and I'll look at my dad, right? And I think of like what my dad had done by then. By 18, he'd got himself a scholarship. He was in another country on like a diplomatic scholarship. He was making a ton of money, came back at 20, was an engineer, manager. And then I look and I'm 28. And although I have to like actually go in my head and go, no, you've done some good stuff. But sometimes you're looking and you're like, I don't think I have, in comparison to maybe my dad or in comparison to maybe somebody else. So for me, I had that moment, and then ironically, the way that got me out, the way I got out of that space is actually having a conversation with my dad, and I expressed basically all of this to him, and he said to me, you know, African dads, they love an analogy. They absolutely love an analogy. He says, Aisha, you know,
you know,
sometimes, you know, he doesn't even talk like that. No, he doesn't even talk like that. No, he basically said, you know, no, he said, of course, you're going to roll your eyes when you hear this analogy, because of course this is what he chose. But he says, you know, Elijah, in nature, you have rivers and you have dams. And he says,
hey.
And he said, sometimes you'll see somebody's river going really fast and they're making waves and they're going and it's making a lot of noise. And then yours is just, you know, dripping, kidogo, dripping, and it builds up. But after a certain point, if you've been putting in the work, you've been just consistently just drip. At one point, it will burst, and you'll just go right past that person, and you'll be right parallel where you need to be. So if you still had to get to a certain place at a certain speed, you'll get there. But your process was to build up and then explode and go.
Yeah.
So he said, when you are a dam, do not look at the river and think I should be running fast. He says, just keep doing the drips. And I was like, that's so true. Yeah. So, everyone's path. And so also to guys that are, because the whole point of this is to help other guys. Like, if you're ever looking at me or ever looking at Oscar or ever looking at another guy, just know, and we were saying this about the Drake album, like Drake is at the top of his game and he's still saying, I was going through depression. he's still saying, I needed my homie 40 to come and get me when I'm in a dark place. He's the only person that knows. So it doesn't matter what level you're playing at. You are a human being. I saw Diddy the other day post on his story, he deleted all of his posts the other week. So he deleted everything off his Instagram. He started afresh. And he's been doing like the love thing. He's a positive guy. He's always dancing. You look at his house, you're like, what? But he was saying like, I was like so thankful that he did this. He was on his story and he was like, now he sat there, his barber's doing this, he's getting his nails done. And he's just like, I was going for a hard week last week. I went through depression. I had a really tough week. And you may think, Diddy, you've got all of this money, but it's real. Like I can't explain it, but I still get the same feeling that I got when I was maybe broke. Right, and I still go through that even as Diddy, And then he went and did like this Milan thing. He said he felt much better, but he does it at that level. Me and Oscar, in comparison to those people, we're ants, right? We're on our own path, and you might be looking at Oscar. You might be looking at you might be even better than us, but you listen to Mantalk. But every man goes through that thing, so don't ever let that affect your masculinity. But also be kind when you do feel like it is. You can sometimes be very hard on yourself as a guy.
I also think this is also something that society has contributed a lot to, because men are not assessed by necessarily who they are. They're assessed by what they provide. You get what I mean? And that's something that us guys know. Like that's something that as the back of your head, that if you're not achieving a certain level of competence, a certain level of skill, then the way society values you is extremely diminished. But something that gave me a lot of encouragement is the fact that most people know success from the basis of sharpening just one skill. So you take one skill and then you master it, you become an absolute animal at it, and then that's when the money starts to chase you, the reputation, because of the work you've done over time. Today, society has changed. Society has changed completely. Society has completely turned that on its head. It's not just about having one skill. It's about having a set of skills that are complementary. It's about listen, if you're, let's say, a doctor, you might achieve success as a surgeon, and you'll do very, very well. But if you're a doctor, let's say, who also plays in a band, and also, if there's more complementary skills, a doctor who also is, let's say, running a Medicare startup. You know what I mean? Somebody who's created a complementary set of skills. That person tends to contribute a lot more in our generation than somebody who's just doing one specific thing. So if you're in a situation when it comes to a profession where there are certain levels that you need to there are certain skills that you need to sharpen. Always sit down and remember that you might be differently enabled. You might be good at, let's say, for me in my case, law, but you're also good at, let's say, creating content. You also have a good creative brain. If you use both skills and put yourself together, you differentiate yourself completely from everyone else. So while everyone else is trying to, they're fantastic litigants, fantastic contractors, they're very good at those specific lines of practice. You might find that because you've managed to gel two things, you will actually achieve much more success than you even expect when you participate in the same field. So that's something that really got me out of it, because I was like, I've done cybersecurity, I've done finance, I've done tech, and now I'm doing content. Calm down, bro, relax. You're not, relax. You're panicking for nothing. Just calm down. So that really switched me back on. Because maybe the problem wasn't the fact that I've not necessarily been successful. It's just the fact that I've been successful in a way that I didn't predict. You get what I mean?
That's exactly the same. Exactly the same. Yeah. That's so true. That's so true. I hope that's helped someone.
Yeah. The next question.
Do you want to do the next one?
I will do the next question. Oh, this is a tough one. You came up with this. This is a tough one. This Justin Baldoni guy does not play. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Hey, this is a tough question.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, I'm seeing these questions for the first time, in case you're wondering. This is a tough one. Alright, so the team went ham on this. What does being a man mean to you?
Okay.
Whew.
Okay.
Hee.
Do you know? Yeah. Okay. To me. So I think being a man, do you know what it is? Okay, got it. So I was thinking about this as always in the shower, where the best thoughts come, right? Because I was listening to something that was talking about the development of your brain. Trust me, we're going to get to the why I'm saying this. So they were saying that obviously the brain is like fully developed once you get to 26. That's when your brain's actually finished like developing, right? And you've actually managed to get to that certain level. And then I don't know if anyone believes in this, but is it lunar cycles? But every 7 years, your body has like a chemical shift as well, right? So every 7 years of your life. And then I was looking at my mindset, my like brain, like the way my life has gone. Every 7 years, there's always something significant that happens. And I realized at 26, 27, 20, actually 25, 26 for me, my idea of being a man completely changed. And I reached another level of comfortability that I know is going to change again in another 7. I mean, when I'm older, it's going to change again. It's a constant evolution. It's a journey. But my idea of being a man completely changed because, and it's something I'm still working on, to be fair, and I'll say what it is. When you're younger, it's very hard for you to stand alone and actually have a think about what you feel, not what you're being told to feel, right? So a lot of the time you can have friends and you're always influenced, but I feel like you're influenced so much more and you turn into somebody that you want those people to like, or you want those people to like respect. So a lot of the time when I was younger, it's the word you love using, I was doing a lot of posturing, right? I was acting, let's put it that way, I was acting to be a certain guy. But the reason I felt, why I think I felt more manly after 26 is because I felt like I could be like Eli. Like I could be Elijah and be unapologetic in what I like and in what I feel about something. So the reason this comes to my definition of what I think masculinity is, I think it's freedom. For me, I think masculinity is freedom. And it ties into what we said about the lion and the lamb. It's being able to be so confident in what you are, that regardless of the situation, you feel free to say, no, I feel this. Or you feel free to be like, no, I'm upset. You feel free to be, that lying and be aggressive or go to Afghanistan. Like you feel like you can literally, you have the capability to be you in any scenario. Because I think a lot of insecurity comes when you haven't had a word of yourself. You haven't sat alone with who you are. And then you go to certain scenarios and you try to morph into somebody that you think that scenario needs. There's a place for that. There's a place for that in a professional sense. There's a place for that in different areas, but it still should be a version of you. And you should be able to sit there afterwards and be like, yeah, I'm comfortable with how I acted or how I would have come across or how I expressed myself, because I'm so confident in who I am as a man, as an individual, and in my masculinity that I can be that person where I am. So being a man for me is being free, because that goes for a range of, being free. Like recently, I'm only able to now sit down and say to my parents or my sister, like, I'm sad. Like before, I could never do it. I would probably just go somewhere, act out, do something else. But now I can just say, no, I'm not feeling good. And I feel like that's such a hard thing, especially for a man to do. So if you can challenge that and be able to go to that place and be strong enough to say I'm hurting,
you're freer than
then I think then you're freer than the other guy that would have to go, no, I'm good. That's the guy. That guy's hurting. Yeah. And I think we see that as well in a lot of, honestly, I started listening to less music that was associated with a lot of toxic masculinity. There's still a place for it, reflexing and stuff. There's still a place where you want it. But like, if we look at, say, some of the stuff 50 was saying, like 50 Cent was saying, some of the stuff like even Kanye was saying back in the day, it's so toxic, it's so negative in terms of, and you can just see it so much, again, your word, posturing, like with hip hop and stuff. So like I'm saying, I'm not saying I hate hip hop, I'm saying when I look at, I was trying to be those people. Like in my mind, I was like, nah, because 50 Cent said this, right? So I was so easily influenced, I wasn't being who I was. So yeah, for me, it's that freedom to be able to do what.
Yeah, and also you have your freedom of opinion, like what you've just said right now.
Exactly.
Because you see,
Yeah,
because you've you've kind of reached that place where you're like, I know who I am. I know exactly what my values are. As much as I'm listening to this music, it doesn't really affect me as much.
Yeah. I just want to do this, you know. I just want to,
You know.
that's it. I just want to do it.
Yeah.
But that's what being a man means to me.
Fire. Actually very introspective.
Thank you.
Freedom is, you said it, I was like, wait.
It's freedom, yeah.
Guys, wow.
Thank
Guys,
you,
podcasting with this guy is really tough. Now look. Now I have to come up with.
Look, Panya.
Look at this guy. All right. Very.
What does being a man mean to you, bro?
I've been asking myself that question the moment you asked me. Like the moment the question came out of my mouth, when I asked you, my mind was like, okay, Oscar, what does it mean to you? And it's a very, let me read it again, guys, so that you can understand just the levels at which what does being a man mean to you? That's a tough question.
And the thing is, it's not to society, it's to you.
Yeah,
like,
that's subjective. I'm a mix of a number of things as a person, and I'm very clear as to what that mix is. You know, I come from a family that really values education. I also come from a family that really values heritage. And I also have a bit of a religious perspective in terms of, I also come from a family that's very grounded in Christianity and religion. And then there's also the side of me that comes from Nairobi. You know? And the definitions of what a man is in this fantastic city of ours, which is very interesting. The definition of masculinity, when I think about it from my perspective, what being a man means to me is an enlightened person, like enlightenment. If I was to pick one word, it would be enlightenment. Because an enlightened person is compassionate because they understand what everyone around them is going through. An enlightened person, a man is enlightened. Basically, he's also competent because in his field, you know, he brings real value. A man is also spiritually in touch with himself. And this is something I'm really working hard towards in terms of making sure that I understand where everyone's perspective is. Because, you know, you can sit down and have a multiplicity of emotions. So a multiplicity of religions and people and personalities. And that group of people, when you meet all these different people, you have to learn to empathize with them. You have to learn to understand their point of view. So the most effective men I've ever met all have that open-mindedness, all have that knowledgeable capacity, all have that social skill to be able to, you know, bring people together. They also, and one of the consequences of enlightenment is leadership. So you find that because you understand a lot, you also understand yourself. You also understand other people. And people gravitate towards that. They gravitate towards people who feel like home. You know what I mean? And the most enlightened of us, the most enlightened people, if they happen to be men, when they are men, beautiful things tend to happen. It's not, you know, the world has given us a narrative where, as men, you know, we've been portrayed as these people who are base, who are classless and crass. Whereas that's just
blame the city girls.
Yeah, that's not necessarily the truth. You know, some of us actually are trying to pursue a level of personal, you know, development and social competence and economic competence that actually brings value to other people's lives. The fact that as a man, when I come into your life, I bring real value. And when I leave, you know, you sit down and go like, yeah, I learned something from that person. Just that. I feel like if I was to sum up what I'm trying to say with a lot of words is, if I achieve a level of enlightenment where as a man I'm able to sit down and like contribute to people's lives, I'll be very proud of myself. In whatever way that I do it, I'll be very proud of myself. Of course, there's that competitive beast in me that wants to be Elon Musk, but just, you know, touching people's lives and them leaving my space feeling refreshed that they've learned something. And even if they don't feel refreshed, the lesson will come to them later. Just that ability. Yeah. I feel like that is what a man means to me. An enlightened, like a place of enlightenment. Being masculine is a place of enlightenment, a place of stability. a place where problems go to die,
Yeah.
basically.
Mm.
Yeah. So yeah.
How's your journey been in that sense, in terms of becoming more sort of enlightened and accommodating?
I feel like I don't feel like I know, as I've been told on set. I know the fact that that constant need to challenge myself and to achieve the next level and to achieve a higher level has put me in a place where my own personal development is in that place right now. Like, so my journey through life has always been, I think I know, and then I don't. I think I know, and then I don't. I think, because we never really know.
Same.
We never really know what life truly is, because it's such a mystery. And we never have all of the facts, because human beings are limited. We are limited in terms of what we see and how we think. But we are unlimited when it comes to our potential. And that human potential is what I'm trying to grasp every day. Like, I'm trying to unleash just a little bit every day. Just a little bit more, just incrementally over time. I'll be able to build, let's say, a life and a body of work that I can look back at and say, as a man, like, I've grown in 1, 2, 3, 4 ways. I'm more empathetic. I'm more in touch with myself. I am much more, when it comes to financial stability, that's a game I won a long time ago, because people chase me for value. So yeah, I think day by day, my response to that is day by day. It's a day by day thing. Like your dad said, it's like that drip in the dam every day. Because I don't know what does. I wouldn't sit here and tell people that the journey to being a man is easy and that we wake up and it's just like, no, it's not. It's not. We have to fight ourselves. We have to fight our own doubts. We have to fight our own insecurities, our own need to be validated, and then step into a world where we are meant to, create as much value as we can, and then come back and then repeat the next day. Often without a compliment. So, so often without quite often without any acknowledgement or any, I see you and I think you're doing a good job.
It's not me, but of course you did.
Yeah. It's expected, you're just expected to live life like that. So that's my response to that.
That's amazing. That's profound, bro. That really, yeah. And I think you've been doing that. I've personally known you for 2 years now.
2 years, yeah.
Just over 2 years. I've seen your growth in that aspect as well. So yeah.
Thank you very much. If you check my wardrobe, it's also suffering from my relationship with Eli. Now suddenly I'm wearing coats, hoodies, snapbacks.
And even, I've noted this season as well, you said no games this season.
You
said, I don't know what changed. I don't know who had a chat. I don't know what happened.
Listen, bruh. Listen. I'm getting there. Day by day.
Yeah.
I'm getting there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, so I'll ask the final question.
Go.
Of this masculinity one. This one is this is a big one.
No, let me ask. Oh my God, no, let me ask this question. This is me asking. Yeah, because I talked last, it's you who's going to ask the question. Thank you and good night. Yes, because I know you wanted time to think. I know what you're doing. This guy.
Let me just pose you a question real quick, Oscar. Let me just come with me.
This guy. Anyway, here's the question, guys. If you're listening to us on podcast, you're missing out when it comes to the visuals. This. I feel like this episode is going to be such a vibe, even without seeing the edits.
I've had a good time. I've had a really good time.
Yeah.
I can't lie.
I would Justin Baldori. If you see this, the African men are really enjoying what you're doing. This is crazy.
Yeah, this is
crazy. All right, next question. When?
My sister just whispered in the background. No. Everyone's enjoying watching him.
When?
He's an attractive male.
No, you're not going to say that on camera on this podcast, please, kindly.
That's being cut. Thank you.
Masculine, no?
When?
Thank you, Oscar.
When Eli, come back. When? I see. I'm telling you, you're buying a lot of time, and I'm giving it to you. When is the last time you cried? Question mark. When is the last time you cried? Question mark. Go. Yeah, that's a very comfortable question, isn't it? Very comfortable. How do they do this in America? How do they do this?
No, they're good. They're good. They're like, bro, you know, like one time. Yeah. No, let me. Okay. There was one time, bro. Like,
Oh my god.
like a brick, bro.
Yeah.
Like, okay, let me. Okay, last time I cried. I cried at this question. My gosh. Okay. So there's.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you. I just thought I'm gonna actually tell you.
You're actually going to.
Okay,
When was the last
I'm
time?
gonna actually tell you. There's two.
Let's go.
And there's two. Okay. One
Go.
was last week.
Okay, go. Jesus, we were talking.
It wasn't full on tears.
Yeah.
It was, you know, hot eyes. Your eyes get hot. Do you know when they're just hot? It's like a. Yeah, right there. Yeah. So here's what happened. So I was listening to. I cried listening to a podcast, bro. Yeah. So my friend said to me, he goes, Eli, you need to listen to this episode. Like, you need to listen to this episode.
Okay, who's podcast? Who's this?
It was
Drawing tears.
do you know, it was a Joe Rogan podcast, and it was the guest.
You cried
was
from
the
a Joe
guest.
Rogan podcast.
It was the guest. It wasn't Joe. It was the guest.
Let's hear it.
Saying Joe like he's my friend. So yeah, basically had this lady on Miss Park, right? She's from North Korea. But her first name is I hate when his first name is hard to pronounce. It's just I haven't written it down,
Yeah.
so I don't want to say it. And then but her name is Miss Park, right? Begins with a Y, Yomi or something. So she came on the podcast and she was telling her story. If anyone's familiar with North Korea,
It's Yeonmi.
Yeonmi Park. Yeah, Yeonmi Park. Okay, Yeonmi Park.
Thanks, Bex.
Give her respect, right? Yeah.
That's right.
So she was on the podcast talking about her journey, coming to America from North Korea, that journey, and the tales that she was telling, you can't not cry. To be fair, I cried at the end because I'll take like an hour if I'm telling the story, but footnotes is for context. So imagine you're so oppressed that you've never known what it feels like to have a full stomach. You've seen a kid with their intestines out the back begging for food, barely hanging on to life. You see dead bodies at the train stations every day, cold, and it's normal, and you're numb to it. Your mum accepts to get raped in front of you so you don't get raped. You cross a desert for 24 hours to get to South Korea. If you physically stop, you'll die because you'll freeze. That's how, it was a desert, but it was a winter or something.
Yeah,
like that
tundra.
In this
Tundra,
part of the world. Yeah, the tundra, yeah. So if you stop, you'll freeze. You've got you're carrying a baby with you. Your dad gets put into prison. You're seeing kids eat rats that have been feeding off of dead bodies. Then that kid dies, and then now the rat eats the kid. That's the cycle that happens because of starvation. You eat grasshoppers, and you cook them with the lighters. Then she's telling her journey there. Then she gets to like South Korea. Imagine you don't understand the concept of I. You don't have a word for I. You don't have a word for love. I'm really trying to do footnotes. It's not doing it justice. The story is just heartbreaking. Then you get to South Korea. You like cram. You get education, or you get recruited by like a Christian cult to be able to get you across the border. Then you get across the border, and then you're then sold as a sex slave to somebody, and then you still don't have, you can't comprehend love. You don't know what I am. Then you have to learn a language, crash. Then you end up in Columbia University. When you get to America,
How?
You get a degree. You read, is it 300 books? Was it 300 books in a year or something? Like it was, she just crammed the language. She would read so much that she would she would like pass out from exhaustion, get rushed to ER because she hasn't comprehended that you need to eat because she's so used to being hungry. Then obviously her father dies, etc. And the long story short, the reason I cried, it wasn't even when she was telling the stories, is she's told all of that. And then that story as well, on the world stage, no one talks about North Korea in depth. It's just the little things here. And there's so much unseen tragedy there that at the end of the podcast, this is when I was like, ugh. At the end of the podcast, Joe Rogan says, "Oh, thank you for coming on." And she said, no, you don't understand. Thank you for giving me a chance to actually say these stories and people to hear. And this is what she said. She says, when I was crossing that desert and there was a 70% chance you'll die. You're like, you go there thinking I might die because you don't have you've got a compass. That's the only thing you've got to give you directions. She said, when I was in that desert and I realized there's a high chance I'll die because they said death comes in waves. So when you start to feel tired, you're not tired, you're dying. So if you give in to the tiredness, you'll die. So she was like, when one of them was coming over me and I was starting to feel drowsy knowing that I'm going, if I don't keep moving, I realized even if I die now, no one will ever know I existed. No one will ever know my family exists. No one will ever know the pain that we've gone through. And it's going to keep on going. She said, the fact that I've made it to this podcast and I'm telling you this story, I'm telling you about my dad, I'm telling you about my mum, it means so much to me even if nothing happens, because somebody has heard and felt compassion for somebody that never thought they would ever feel that or anyone would ever think about them. The fact that I'm telling this story and you're hearing about those dead bodies, they're getting airtime. And that doesn't happen in the world just because of the way that's a whole other topic. But then she started crying, like, just thank you for hearing our voices. Because when I was dying, I realized I'm not even a story, but now I'm a story worth telling and people listen to it. I was gone. I was gone. I was like, whoa. Yeah. I recommend listening to that podcast because afterwards I was just sat there and I was so grateful for my life. I've never been more grateful for my life.
Yeah.
I was like, it was like a shock. I actually also went on the Jordan Peterson podcast, told a similar story, but those are just footnotes. But it blew my mind. So that's the last time I cried.
Jesus. What? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
heavy.
Yeah. Compassion
It's
draws
heavy.
more tears from men than most people know. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I only was allowed to do it because I was on my own in the car. If I was with someone, I wouldn't have cried. That's what's crazy. I wouldn't have cried. But I was alone and I was like, yeah, I would have teared up. Yeah, I would have teared up.
That's a tough one.
Yeah. Then the other one, last time I cried, is when I was going for a really hard time a good few months ago. And then my mum and my sister asked me, "Are you okay?" And I went, my sister's laughing. But because you know people, when they ask you and they don't accept the answer of, "I'm fine." They don't accept that answer and they go, no. Like, sit down. And then you're like, and you go, no. You keep, no, it's just this, and you try to make excuses, you try to like pivot. No, I'm just in a little bit of this. And they're like, no. Are you okay? Like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah. No. And I went. So yeah, that was the last time I cried.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Dude, you cry a lot. Yeah, I'm just gonna say it.
That one was the reason I cried that time. It felt like, like when you have a weight.
Yeah.
I think it was to do with, I had such a weight and I was trying to now, and I couldn't, and I was like, trying to figure out a way to say it and I couldn't even, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, the emotions just came out in tears. It's just,
that's the last time. That's the last time I cried. My sister's laughing off camera. You made it happen. So it was pressure and then also compassion. Those are two things that made me cry.
That's time I cried. When I
was born.
This
when I came out, and I cried since. The nurse told me. I said wham, and that was it. I said. So what up?
Nah, man. Like I don't cry. I don't cry often. I'll give that. Like,
my name's Oscar.
Nah, it's not that. Like, I just don't. I just don't. But the truth about it is, I'll give you. I'm trying to go back. Like, when was the last time like I actually came to tears? And the most memorable time at which I was crying uncontrollably, I couldn't help myself, and I was even laughing at myself, is I remember the exact moment when it happened. I have a very close friend of mine who's who's now a mom, and she's you know, she's seen me through a lot of stuff. So this time of my life was easily the darkest, worst, most literally. Like the Oscar who's sitting here today would not have been here if I didn't go through that experience. And I remember she asked me same question, like, so I gave her the car to drive because she noticed that at that time of my life I was partying a lot and stuff. And she looked at me and asked me like, are you okay? Just like you. And now I realized. And I remember just the moment when she asked me that and all of the emotion just left. Like, it's like, have you ever been in so much pain and grief that it's like you're seeing yourself cry. I don't know if it makes sense. Like, it's like you're having an out of body experience because like of just how much shock and pain that you're going through at that time. And I remember asking myself like, what I don't understand. The one question I had is, what I don't understand is why. I just don't understand why. I don't see the justice in all this. And now that I'm slightly older, I understand like what happened at that stage in my life and why it had to go that way. But like at that stage, when you have someone or something that's very precious to you and it's taken away from you and you've literally pushed, you've tried everything you possibly can to not have that situation go away, to not like have that thing taken away from you, not have that opportunity taken away from you. I wept like a baby. Like I wept. It was like an hour of just weeping. You know that part for the Bible where it says Jesus wept. I wept. Oscar, I wept. Let me tell you, I wept. Hey, I cried for like a whole. It was such a tough time. It was such a tough time. Like such a tough time. And when I finished crying, I'll never forget. Like I said, thank you. It's such a weird thing. Like, you know, most people when you cry, like this is how you know your homies are real ones. Just watch who's around you in the middle of hell. When you're walking in hell, because you will experience hell in your life at least once. Most people expect hell to be a place that's like a place that's like when you die you visit it. No, hell is not a place you see when you die. You will know hell when you're on earth. Like that woman from North Korea. Hell exists on earth. Like there are certain situations that will happen in your life that you just don't expect to happen. And that will just make you break down completely. So I remember like, and the people who are around you, who hold you and stick by you, that's where real friendships are forged. Real friendships are not forged when everything is sweet or candy. It's that situation. So I remember I cried and I told, her name is Mary, and I told Mary, thank you. Just for being there. Because at that point, I don't know where my mind could have taken me. So, yeah, 17, I think, 2017. And I told Mary, thank you. And ever since that day, that friend of mine has been one of the closest people in my life. So shout out to you, Mary, if you hear this. I cried and told someone, thank you. Hey, wonders will never cease.
Do you know what it is? Do you know what it's so like you said? It's that build up, and then having the one channel to release, like given that one opportunity to finally, and then
I'm telling you,
completely hear you, and like, having that friend.
That one, like, you know, it's not many. You know, you won't find that opportunity with many people. But the friends who've seen me cry, and they all come from, most of my friends, a lot of them who have kept really close to me, come from that phase of my life where there was a lot of confusion. And I was just a very confused young man. Like, everything was just going too fast. I was in a situation where something I really genuinely cared about, totally and completely, was going. And there was nothing on earth I could do to change it. And I remember that, you know, like I'm trying to look for answers as everywhere, in every book. You know that thing, that arrogant thing you do where like you try and find all of the answers you want to by yourself. You find all of the answers, and then the despair sets in. The fact that you now know that there is absolutely nothing. that you can do about it, that you're going to have to occupy that new reality of I'm not that person who I thought I was. That job that I thought I was going to work with, that's not there. That relationship that I thought I was going to have, that's not there. Now I have to step into my life as a completely new person. Like I have to completely reinvent and reorient myself. That plan I had made is not going to be the plan. I have to come up with a different plan, and I have to do it on my own. And that's, that fear of, that absolute fear of like uncertainty. That absolute, like, that total fear of, I have no control. And this is coming from someone whose entire life they have been in control. And at that stage of my life, I was quite young. So I lost a job and I lost a relationship. In one, like, in 3 months. It was like a 4-month period. And I'm telling you, and at that time I was like, I didn't even go to law school at that point because I was like, I was earning more than everyone. So I was like, I just don't think I want to, I just don't think I want to go back to law school and go through that, because I was in a business. I was actually in a business and understood what was going on. And I'm telling you, at that low point in my life, at that completely low point in my life, when that friend asked me, how are you feeling? Are you okay? I've noticed that you've been just going crazy. I had an out-of-body experience. It's like my soul went and sat at the back of the car while I was weeping like a baby, because I just didn't know. And the worst thing about it is the environment I was in at the time wasn't like this, where where what we're trying to create for Mantalk. There was no Mantalk where there are guys who are trying to be empathetic. It was all macho. Oh, when you go through these things in life, it's probably because, it was all macho. So in my mind, all of the information that's coming back to me is information to do with like, this failure is because of you.
Yeah.
You get what I mean? And I'm like, where is the justice in all this? Where is the fairness? Where is the, but ever since that day, and ever since I went through that experience, it was a commitment that I'm going to put as much distance as I can. Like, I'd never forget that moment. Like, when I was done crying, she was like, now that you've let it out, you need to make a decision. You have to actually start living a life that's yours. Yeah.
Friend.
Yeah, you have to actually start living a life that's yours. Don't live a life that everyone wants or watches. No, live a life that's yours. And ever since that moment, it's been like 5-6 years since. That day, I made the commitment that this is never happening again. Like, if it happens, I'll be ready. But I'll never be in a situation where, like, I'm going to not grow from this, because the sacrifice, the tax I have paid for this feeling right now is way too high for it not to have any value. Yeah. Wow. And after that, like everything in my life just turned around. Like, everything, like I hate to quote Kanye West, but like a hurricane, everything just so everything just changed. So that was the last time I think I can say I cried, when that day, and I let it all out. And ever since. So shout out to you, Mary. You mean the world.
Never cried a tear since. Never shed a tear since.
Nah. The rest, no. After that experience, everything else is chicken.
Had like hot eyes. Because I don't know the last time I wept.
Yeah.
The last few years, it's just been like, hot eyes. You haven't had any hot eyes. It's just.
It's shock. Most of the things that happen these days is just shocking. It's like, whoa. I mean, okay. Yeesh, that's tough. But after that, like, but for real, there's nothing more painful than for someone than having the entire reality shifted in a moment. Especially when you peg it on things that are like, sinking sand. Things change like this. So like,
humans are sinking sand.
Yeah.
We don't peg on humans. Humans are the worst.
Not just humans, like even like career experience, competence. No, that can all be taken away from you. Don't peg your identity on things that like can be taken. You have to peg your identity on yourself, and everything will just grow around that. Yeah.
Big facts. No, man, thanks for sharing. That's deep. Yeah. That's deep. And there's probably a lot of guys that are about to have that crying moment, and they would have heard maybe you say that and say, wait, because now there is something like Mantalk to say no.
Yeah, it's fine. And don't turn to. This is another thing I think I should warn. be very careful of who you speak to when you're in that phase of your life. Be very I don't think there's. You see, you went to your sister and your mother. I went to a friend who's a lifelong friend. I won't sit here and lie that I didn't go to people who didn't have my best interests at heart, who had, I went to people who, at that phase of my life, who were just like destructive and were happy to enjoy watching somebody destroy themselves.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So be very careful.
Yeah. And sometimes they're not bad people, but they're just, friendship management system, they're just not bad people, but they're just not meant for that time.
Yeah. They're just not for that time.
They're just not meant because they can't, they're not for that time.
Yeah, because like your friends at that stage can really push you over the edge. The people in my life today who survived are the ones who I made a lot of my lifelong friendships with. So
amazing. Yeah.
So yeah.
Great.
So shout out to the squad.
Yeah.
You know yourselves.
Come on. Yeah. Tactical team.
Yeah, tactical team.
Brother, we've gone. We've done some time today. But I think that it was needed. Yeah. I think I want us to. We didn't do it last episode. I want us to just end within like a minute, saying one thing that people should watch. So we'll call it like the Mantalk share or the Mantalk mentions, right? Just one thing you can recommend for somebody that you've seen this week or read or like you like.
Yeah, the Mantalk plug.
Yeah, Mantalk plug. Yeah. Let us know in the comments. It can be Mantalk plug,
Mantalk mentions,
or Mantalk share. Yeah, Mantalk plug or Mantalk mentions. Do those two.
Yeah, let us know.
Yeah.
Let us know.
Let us know in the comments. But yeah, what do you want to?
The thing I want to recommend is there's a book that I've been listening to by Steve Anderson called The Bezos Letters. Let me make sure I get that right because it's right here on my phone. If you guys don't mind, I don't want to miss it. Where is Rebecca? Yes, I texted her that. It is The Bezos Letters by Steven Anderson or S. Anderson. I suggest that you go check that book out. It really shows you what Jeff Bezos was thinking. It's a business book. What Jeff Bezos was thinking when he was briefing his staff as to what the future of Amazon is going to look like. So, and this starts all the way from 1999. You'll be shocked at the amount of insight you can get from just reading Jeff Bezos' letters and having a professional break down to you like the philosophies and principles that come up with his business concept. So watch that. I think go listen, take a look at that podcast, at that book. It's available on Audible. It's also available on Amazon through Kindle. And I'm sure a bookshop in Nairobi. Which bookshop? I don't know. But just go check it out.
One of them.
Yeah.
One of them.
So that's my hookup for today. That's my plug.
Okay.
You?
Okay. So here's the thing. I can either go like, sort of academic.
Yeah.
Or I think if one goes academic, I can try and go like lighthearted, right? So it's not always heavy.
Yeah.
Okay, so what can I recommend? Do you know Loki, as I'm doing this? Okay, cool. Do you know, as I was doing this, I was trying to stall because I was actually getting up Netflix on the other side of the screen so I could go and remember what it's called. Next episode I'll do something serious, but this one is quite cool. It's called Clickbait. It's on Netflix. It's a series. I highly recommend listening to Clickbait. It's a very good series. It's one of those ones where you don't know how it's gonna end. So Clickbait on Netflix, really good series. Sorry, I won't spoil it for you. But it's all about catfishing and how that can go terribly wrong. That's what I'll say. Yeah, so that's my recommendation, guys. Next episode it will be one more serious, but yeah, Clickbait and Letters to Bezos. I've enjoyed today.
It's called the Bezos Letters. Next week. Bezos Letters.
The Bezos Letters. The Bezos Letters by
S. Anderson.
By S. Anderson. Yeah, so S. Anderson. Amazing. So yeah, guys, obviously follow us on the socials, subscribe, like, comment, and we'll see you on the next episode of Mantalk.Ke. It's going to be a good one.
Peace.